everyone. Welcome to the Self-Awareness Journey podcast. I'm Melissa Albers.
And I'm JJ Parker. This podcast is for seekers, seekers of happiness and joy, seekers of a centered approach to success in life, seekers of their true, authentic selves.
Get ready for some real talk on everything from anxiety, emotions, and habits to love, compassion, and forgiveness. We know you'll be challenged and enlightened by this conversation. We're so glad you're here. Let's dive in. JJ, I'm kind of excited because I'm starting the podcast today. I don't know.
We should catalog how many I start versus you, but it's going to be like a 10-1.
Well, not even. I think I've started like 6. I just don't ever feel like I'm good
since
at
you're
starting.
starting it, you must have something for us today.
I do. I was reading an article in the Washington Post the other week or the other day, can't remember even now. And I thought it was awesome because we keep talking about anxiety. In all my coaching calls, there's a lot of stress, and people may not label it as anxiety. They may label it as, I'm overly tired, I'm too stressed out, I'm just sick of everything. But at the root of it, it's anxiety. And it was a great article. You know how I always like the 8 things to do, 10 steps to kind of ideas?
Yeah, you like the lists.
Yeah. And this list is 8 ways to deal with your anxiety. And I thought they were very practical, good advice. So I thought we could talk about it today.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
I hope you read it.
The one thing I did.
Oh, good.
I hope you read it. It's actually more fun when we don't read them and then we surprise each other.
I know. Well, yeah, at least I have a memory of a squirrel, so almost all of this will be a surprise despite the fact I've read it twice. When it comes to data.
That's like a good advertisement for like always being like super in the moment. It's just like everything's always so surprising and it's fun.
Can hide my own Easter eggs.
Okay, so I did read it. The one thing I think we should pull out and talk about before we hop into this little list is that one of the things they're talking about is how, there's so much stimulus and so many ways to get information, and there's all these stories that travel around really quickly.
Yeah.
And it says in big bold letters, our nervous systems were not designed for this.
Yes, I know. I loved that.
And just that thought exercise to before we get into the particular
really
tactics of this idea that, like, we really weren't designed to have so much kind of like high drama information.
Stimulus.
Stimulus flowing at us so quickly. So just giving ourselves a little bit of grace to say, like, hey, the things that we're struggling with are a bit of just hard wiring.
Yeah.
And they're a reaction to the environment that we actually created.
Yeah. Well, right. And that's even the hard part too, because people are feeling judgy and guilty, right? There's just a lot of that. I think people are really judging themselves because when they're angry about something, I think then they judge themselves when they come down off the anger. So like, let's just talk about the recent political midterms. So much energy and emotion and amped up behaviors. And I think that people in the moment let it loose. And then I think there's this time afterwards where they're exhausted from that. And they try to justify it to themselves. I mean, this isn't about you with anybody else. It's just you and you. I think there's a certain amount of exhaustion that happens. And I think that we then feel guilty that we can't be more in control. And so when you look at the statement you just made, which was, say it again.
Our nervous systems were not designed for this.
Right. So we keep telling ourselves, well, I should be able to just, I should just be able to manage. I should be able to do this. Like, I should let this not bother me so much. So it's sort of like the David and Goliath. It's just like, we're too small to singly change all of this, and yet we feel this obligation to be able to just get on with things and meld into the crowd like everybody else. And I think that makes us exhausted because we're not used to all this stimulus coming at us from all these different spots. That's a very good call out.
Yeah, the angle that a lot of our anxiety comes from just being tired, right? Just emotionally tired or intellectually tired from all the stimulus.
And physically
is an
tired.
interesting, yeah.
I think when we fight our minds so much, when we fight in our minds, it's physically exhausting. And that's the whole self-awareness journey. You know, this.
I think we can all relate to that. When I've had like a really big day of thinking, I am physically tired. My brain uses so much energy.
Well, you had a busy week. Your company was doing strategic planning. You had people flying in, and you were really focused for a number of hours every day trying to make plans for the next few years. And I bet you left there exhausted, physically exhausted, but I bet you weren't doing laps or exercising or anything.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So just keeping that in mind, like we all need to keep that in mind, right? So if our brains are doing overtime, spinning on things that we can't control, that has a big effect on even our physical energy.
100%. And that's that whole being in our centered space. Our emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical bodies in alignment creates centeredness and calmness. When something's off, everything wobbles.
All right. 8 ways to refocus your anxiety.
Okay.
This is your list.
Oh, that's how they. I couldn't remember their title. I knew I was missing the verb. That's the verb they use, is to refocus your anxiety. Well, what's the verb they use?
Yeah, we're so good. We're so good at teeing this stuff up, Melissa. 8 ways to feel less anxious about things beyond your control.
Okay, yeah,
that's the title of the article.
Okay, thanks.
And then there's 8 steps to refocus your anxiety. That's the list.
Okay, we can put that. Actually, we'll put that link in the description.
In the show notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. First, take a break from the news.
Can I just tell you a little life hack that I tried that didn't work? I did try to take a break from the news. I thought,
it didn't work.
You a-holes, I'm out. I'm not watching the stupid news anymore. I'm not. Okay, so what I thought I would do instead is I thought I would sign up for a couple emails that just gave like the top 5 news articles so that I could, quote, skim them and then know what was going on, but not get dragged into the, right?
Yeah.
So they all hit, all of those updates hit at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning in your emails. So when you wake up in the morning.
Or just waking up in the morning, yeah.
I'd wake up in the morning and I would scan these horribly depressing updates. So, yes, I've even taken those emails off for a little while. I think that's real.
Yeah, my hack, I think maybe 2 months ago, I think it might be like 2 months, I like deleted all social media or any app on my phone that I could like endlessly scroll in.
Yeah.
So I deleted Instagram, I deleted Facebook, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Any of those that could like give me a news scroll. Mostly because I was wasting a ton of time. Like, rewind to previous podcasts where we talk about my like chronic procrastination. That was not helping.
Really? Because all that are on my feeds are little dance moves.
But it's just like doom scrolling thing you can do, right?
Yeah. They use that
just
phrase.
Like one bad
I know.
headline after another, and it's kind of like a car wreck, and you can't look away.
Yeah, you just keep driving around the block.
Just amps up the anxiety.
Totally. With no place to put it.
And like in your example, why do you want to start your beautiful morning with that kind of energy?
I don't. But even me being aware and doing that on purpose to make it better, look what I did. I just got myself right in what I thought was going to be a good thing, and it sucked.
Yeah.
So yes, I like that. So that's the first one. What's next?
That's the first one. Okay. Second, take care of yourself.
Well, duh.
That seems like simple advice, but how easy is it to actually forget that simple advice?
All right. Let's just talk about what that means real time.
Okay.
It's very theoretical, and we hear that all the time. Oh, you really should take care of yourself. Come over here so I can push you down. I mean, if somebody's really stressed out, I mean, that's kind of like saying to somebody, you know what? You should really not be so stressed. Oh, really? Okay, thanks. Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah.
How can you take it? But I don't mean to dismiss
it's
this
like when
because
someone's freaking out, you'd be like, you need to calm down. Like, oh, really? I need to calm down? That's
yes.
I wasn't aware.
Right. Oh, why didn't I think of that?
Gee.
but real for realsies though, take care of yourself. Okay. What does that mean to you? Like what would
To me,
what would you do? Give me 2 examples of what you would do, and then I'll give you 2 examples of what I would do to take care of myself.
okay, so my there's I got 2. First, like for me, sleeping, like like the number one, the first order of business is like make sure that I'm getting enough sleep because that has a big effect on like
everything,
taking care of myself. And then I think for me, it's probably like giving myself a break because I'll like have a tendency to just fill every possible moment with some sort of like work output, whether it's actually like my day job or like landscaping around the house or like psycho cleaning, around the house, something like that.
Yeah. Giving yourself an actual break from that.
Yeah, like just being okay with like sitting and reading for a little bit or doing something that's not like I'll kind of like a work output.
Yeah. That's good. So what do I do? I try to my work schedule is always very busy, which we've already talked about it ad nauseum. I notice that if I schedule things from 3 o'clock on, it's hard for me. So I try not to do a lot of coaching after 3 o'clock because it's energetically hard for me. It's hard for me to be as in my space as I like to be. So I try not to do that for the work output. So I try to do things when I am physically feeling my strongest and mentally feeling my strongest. So try to have a little more awareness about that. And if things start to creep out, then I'll realize, oh, look at that. My calendar is starting to get crazy all afternoon as well as early morning. So that's one thing. And the other thing I do is I'm not a good sleeper. So even if I try to go to bed early, it doesn't really happen and it causes me a lot of anxiety. So what I've started to do is the hour before I go to bed, I try to find something that is just very quiet. So whether it be reading, in the winter I knit, because I'm heading towards little old lady land. That's not really true. I mean, it kind of is, but
true.
But I try to do stuff though that I find relaxing and kind of soothing. So those are 2 ideas that I have, and you've given a couple. So I think people, like when you say take care of yourself, it really is a simple thing. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. It just needs to be something that feels good to you, and you have to honor what feels good to you.
Yeah. And I'd say in that category too is like eating well and exercise and those kinds of like self-care activities that again are simple, but they're not necessarily that easy to do.
Yep.
Like consistently for sure. Okay, next, focus on the present. Not focus on presence. That's focus on the present.
Right. I have a little tip for this.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. You've often said, and I know you do, when you're trying to stay very focused and stay kind of grounded, you will hold a cup of hot tea or something in your hands. Like you've talked about that. If people aren't in the habit of carrying around a cup or they don't do that, one of the very simple things that you can do is focus on the bottoms of your feet. Recognizing where they are. Are they on the floor? Are your legs crossed? Put your soles of your feet on the floor and lift up your toes, even in your shoes, and set them back down. Like the act of reclaiming your grounding with your feet can help you stay present.
It's a good way. I've never heard you say that. Like literally like stay grounded by noticing the ground.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That helps.
Your feet. That's great. That's
so
a great
regardless if you're female or male or if you wear dress shoes or tennis shoes, it doesn't matter. It's just being very present, noticing your feet.
That's a good one. Yeah, staying present is always hard because
Yep.
it's so easy for us to
spin.
ruminate on the past
Oh,
and
yeah.
get anxiety about the future, and really that future stuff is where a lot of the anxiety
Yeah.
comes from.
hmm
And like we're saying, like a lot of it's so far out of our control
Yeah.
that it's not particularly useful.
No, not at all.
All right, next we'll keep going.
Okay.
Try a breathing exercise.
Yes, I'm a huge fan
Again,
of this.
this is simple, but this is hard. Like when I'm all worked up at the office, it's not like, hold on, you guys, I need to go over here in the corner and do a breathing exercise.
Okay, well, when you say it like that, no one's gonna. However, I use a technique, and I've talked about it on the pod, I think, which is the 4-7-8 technique. And for Ted Lasso fans, I was super excited because they use that same breathing technique in Ted Lasso. And it's
Really, I don't remember you talking about this before.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
It's called
dive in.
4-7-8. 4-7-8. So the whole idea is to reset your nervous system, it needs a huge flush of oxygen. So the idea is you count in breath for 4 counts, breathing in 2, 3, 4, holding your breath at the top for 7 slow counts,
Mm-hmm.
and then releasing for 8 slow counts. And if you do that 3 times, it literally scientifically resets your nervous system, and you can feel yourself settle down.
Interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna totally try that today.
4-7-8.
Would you say 4-7-8?
Yep. It's
And
called
do it 3
4-7-8.
times.
Yeah, and do it 3 times. And when you're first doing it, you may want to take it 10 times. Or you might do it 1 time and it's like, oh, I feel like I can't get enough air. You have to get into the cadence of your body to figure out what those counts feel like. But once you
Okay,
do,
so they might be a little different for each person.
they are, yeah. Because, usually if you say do a deep inhale, people will do that in 1.5 seconds and be like, oh, I'm going to pass out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know. I was just saying, like, should I be sitting down when I try this out first time? Probably.
No.
No, I'm not going to fall over.
No, it doesn't give you too much. You don't get dizzy from it just because of the cadence of how you're doing it. So yeah, it's a huge thing. And I have a lot of clients that will do this when they're in bed and can't sleep. I have clients that will do this before they get on phone calls. I'll have clients do this in their car before they go into a hard meeting. Like all kinds of times you can use it. It takes next to no time at all.
Yeah, I like that you said that it resets your nervous system.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Next, think about your victories.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that was on there. I think that's
so just thinking about the wins, right? Like what's happening in your life that is actually going great.
Yeah. I mean, and I always say, at least give the positive equal time. At least give the positive equal time. It's super easy to get caught up in these negative rampages in our mind. And this doesn't go well. And how come this? And why doesn't this ever? And why can't I? And we just get in this kind of spiral. And the minute you notice, you can call it a victory, or you can just say, and I just had the awareness that I did that. Isn't it great that I can start to change my thinking? Actually, I got off on a great start today. I had super good coffee this morning, and this meeting went really well. And I really like how my spouse and I are figuring out how to parent or who's taking the dog out. We figured out a new way. There's really easy ways if you take an inventory to just give the positive equal time. And I think that in itself is a victory.
Yeah. Yeah, you say that all the time, and that's, again, to me, one of those things that's easy to say and hard to do. And just a little reminder, just write that on a Post-it note and stick it on our desk.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Next up, be your own therapist.
Oh.
That's an interesting one.
Like,
what do you think of that?
I love that. I mean, it's sort of like if it's too hard to do that because you don't want to serve yourself, people are funny. They don't like to care for themselves because they think they're being selfish. So if you can't talk to yourself as your own therapist, can you think of the person you love the most? And what would you say to them if they were in the exact same place you are?
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Oh, that's an interesting approach. Like you're kind of like going to use that technique to actually help yourself, but like as the third person or something.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always felt that we know a lot more about ourselves than we want to admit. Like everyone, yeah, I would say like for the most part, everyone kind of like knows their own problems, right? They kind of know what a lot of times what their triggers are.
Totally.
And so it's not like you need help with figuring those out. But what you probably do is need some of these tips to help you remember to do certain things during the day, like all this self-care stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So I like this idea of like having a little therapy session with yourself, coming up with the plan of like, what's the one little baby step thing I can do to reduce my anxiety today?
There's a car commercial right now. I can't remember the brand, but it's a really beautiful woman that pulls up to this event, and it's the evening, and she is obviously having an anxiety crisis of some sort. And she says, I can do this. I can do this. And then all of a sudden, herself in the rearview mirror says, you can do this. Totally different tone and different face. And she looked at the mirror and she said, I can do this. I mean, that's a microsecond example of that.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
That kind of like leads into the next one, which is take action.
Okay. Yeah.
Like we're talking about, hey, so like we can think about it, but then we can take some action.
What do you think about this one?
Well, I agree. This is always the hard part to me. It's again, there's so many things in life that we know what we should do.
Yeah.
Right. The hard part is actually doing it.
Right.
I mean, whether it's like at home or at work or with ourselves, like, and then doing it consistently. That's the pro level, right? Like, like
the pro level. That's the gold sponsor.
Yeah, exactly. But there's all of those self-help, like just self-care things that I know I should do.
Yeah, I know it.
But doing them
I know.
Like turning them into habits, that's the hard part.
Oh, it's so hard.
And it's so easy to get overwhelmed and then just be paralyzed in that state and not actually take any action because you feel like you can't.
Yes. Yeah, it's exactly right. I don't know. That's a hard one. And it's also a balance because you don't want to just go do something to spin away from it. You know, you don't want to falsely put yourself in action just to avoid.
Yeah.
But
it's like me and the dishes. Like I'll let the dishes pile up into a comically stacked, very precarious, like it's only kind of being held together by like
sheer will.
Syrup.
Dishes are a very big thing for you.
Yes. And then when I finally am like, okay, I'll take care of this. And then I just like start running the water. I can feel the warmth of the water and I start getting things cleaned off. Like, okay, here, got some movement. This wasn't so bad.
I know what you mean though. It's just
the kitchen is clean.
Like for me, it's meditating. It's like there have been many times in my life where I've had huge runs of being a great meditator, consistent meditator. And then like right now, for example, I really want to be a consistent meditator. I really do because I know I feel better. And there are so many benefits to it, right? So what do you think I've been doing?
Not meditating?
No, and you know, even worse. I've been watching all of these people talk about the benefits of meditating.
Oh, yeah. That's the best. And the most hilarious part of that is to get started meditating. All you have to do is nothing. Literally, that's the definition of meditating. You can't even bring yourself to do nothing.
I can't. I have to watch something about doing nothing so I can work up the courage to do nothing.
Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. So why don't you go off and meditate for 5 minutes today? Get the ball rolling. Okay, last one. Join forces with a friend and pick a cause.
Oh, that's nice. I like that idea.
Yeah, so this was more just like get involved with something that like will bring you happiness and will make the world a better place.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. In the exact same block of Minneapolis, you can find huge opportunities to serve and to feel really good about that service. And you can find huge opportunities to be angry. I mean, probably in every block of every city in America. But, right? Like even just thinking about it from that perspective, any single block of people, you can find places to serve and places to pick up a sword.
Yeah.
And to do it with a friend, I think is great because it's that accountability.
Choose.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is I feel like when we're feeling anxious, a lot of times that happens when we're alone.
Yeah.
Just ruminating on things, and
that's
getting
true.
out and doing something with a friend can really change your mood.
Yeah, you know what? That's such a good comment because we will oftentimes do the reverse. We'll try to pull ourselves away because we think, oh, I'm in such a bad spot. I don't have the energy for other people. I don't want to spew my bad energy on other people. I'll just hide in my closet. And it just makes it worse.
Well, we're social creatures.
We are social creatures.
It helps.
Even the introverts in this pod.
Even the introverts every once in a while need to go associate with the other humans.
Well, I hope this was a good list for people.
Okay, this is a fun discussion about this stuff.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder. It's like, again, I love these episodes. They're just like good reminders of the things we know we should be doing.
Yeah. And that we're all together in this. I mean, we're all together. We're all people listening to this pod are going to be able to relate to at least one thing we said here. And guess what? There are so many other people listening that are relating to that same thing. You know, it's just easier, I think, knowing that you're not alone.
Awesome. Go meditate.
Go wash the dishes.
Did you enjoy this episode? Please go to your favorite podcast platform to subscribe, rate, and leave a review so others can discover it as well.
Growing self-awareness is a lifelong journey, and there's always further to go. And it's better when we're all in it together. Please think of someone you know who could benefit from hearing today's conversation and share this episode with them. We can't thank you enough for listening. Until next time, happy exploring, seekers.